The pine barrens breathed like a sleeping beast. A thick fog curled low across the forest floor, swallowing roots, rocks, and the worn dirt trail beneath Mara's boots. The scent of pine resin and damp moss clung to everything. Branches overhead rattled gently in the breeze, but no birds sang. No insects buzzed. It was as if the forest was holding its breath. "We're lost," Mara said quietly, pausing mid-step. "We're not lost," Tyler replied, tapping the GPS on his phone. The screen flickered, glitched, then turned black. "Okay, maybe a little off course." Sam, ever the optimist, grinned. "We'll just follow the trail back. Worst case, we camp out and wait it out. The fog will lift." But the trail was gone. Where the dirt path should have been, there was only gnarled undergrowth and bramble. No footprints, no tire tracks. It was like the forest had erased their path behind them. Lily, trailing at the rear, muttered, "This place is wrong. I don't like it." She had barely spoken all morning, and now her voice cracked like something heavy pressing on her chest. Mara turned to comfort her, but before she could say anything, something caught her eye. A narrow break in the trees, obscured by fog and shadow. A worn wooden sign, hanging crooked from a rusted post, peeked through the mist. Leeds Hollow -1 mile. None of them had seen it before. "I thought there was nothing out here," Mara said. "Just forest for miles." "There's supposed to be," Tyler said slowly. "I checked all the maps. No towns. Not since the 1800s. The four stood in silence, and then, as if by mutual agreement, they walked. The path to Leeds Hollow was strangely clear, too clear. The mud didn't cling to their boots, the fog didn't thicken, and the woods grew unnaturally quiet. No birds, no wind. Just the rhythmic crunch of old leaves underfoot. It wasn't long before the trees opened into a wide clearing, and there it stood. Leeds Hollow. Small wooden houses with moss-covered roofs leaned in strange angles like they had grown out of the earth. Smoke curled from stone chimneys. Wind chimes made of bones and antlers clicked lazily in the breeze. Fences were made from twisted branches, and every window was shuttered with thick, hand-carved wood. The townspeople appeared without sound, men in suspenders and wide-brimmed hats. Women in long, earth-colored dresses with aprons and head coverings. They stood like statues, staring as the four outsiders entered. Mara gripped Tyler's hand. Then, one of the townsfolk, an elderly woman with a face like dried bark, stepped forward and smiled. "Welcome, travelers," she said. Her voice was soft, too soft, like the hush of leaves falling. "You've found your way to Leeds Hollow. You must be hungry. Come, we have stew, bread, a fire." Sam glanced around. We didn't mean to intrude. We just got a little off course." "You're not intruding," she said gently. "You're just in time." They were led into a large wooden hall at the center of town. Inside, it was lit by candles and lanterns, giving everything a warm, golden glow. The air smelled of herbs, smoke, and meat. Townspeople moved in silence, placing steaming bowls of food on the table. Mara didn't eat much. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, even though everyone looked away when she turned to meet their gaze. On the wall above the hearth was a hand-carved symbol, a goat skull, wings spread behind it, surrounded by 13 burning trees. She leaned toward Sam and whispered, "Do you see that?" Sam gave a tight nod. Creepy as hell, but maybe it's just old superstition. A child passed by them, dragging a broken toy behind her. She smiled at Mara. "I drew him," the girl said. "He lives in the trees." "Who?" Mara asked gently. The girl pointed to a crude chalk drawing on the barn wall, something tall, horned, with claws and wings. The girl whispered, "The 13th." Before Mara could ask anything else, the girl was yanked away by her mother, who apologized, bowed, and hurried off. Tyler chuckled nervously. "So, cult town or LARPing community?" But Mara didn't laugh. She watched the fog press against the windows like a living thing, and she felt a knot tighten in her gut. Something was wrong with Leeds Hollow, and they were already too deep to turn back. That night, they slept in separate guest cabins, small wooden buildings with creaking floorboards, straw-stuffed mattresses, and lanterns that cast shadows that seemed to move just a second too late. Mara couldn't sleep. The silence outside was too complete. No crickets, no owls, not even the wind rustling through the trees. She stared at the ceiling, counting the knots in the wood, when she heard it. Scratch, scratch. Something was clawing at the window. She froze. Slowly, she turned her head, eyes adjusting to the darkness. The curtain moved. Something passed behind it. She sat up fast, heart thudding. Hello? No answer? Just the sound of breath, rasping shallow, just beyond the thin pane of glass. Then silence. When she finally found the courage to lift the curtain, there was nothing outside. Just mist curling across the ground and the black line of the tree line in the distance. In the morning, the townsfolk were already up and bustling. No one spoke of what happened during the night. When Mara mentioned the scratching to Tyler over breakfast, he just shook his head. Probably a raccoon or a deer. You're stressed. I get it. But Sam had circles under his eyes. I saw something, he said. Out past the barn. Thought it was a scarecrow at first, but it moved, tall as a door, staring at me. The townsfolk always seemed to be watching, from windows, behind fences, from porches where they carved wooden figures or stirred great iron pots. Mara stopped when she saw a man skinning something behind a smokehouse. It wasn't the act that chilled her. It was the look on his face. Pure joy as he stripped long ribbons of flesh. Later, they were invited to a community gathering in the town square. Long tables were laid with roasted meats, pies, thick bread, and jugs of something sweet and strong. The whole town was there, except the children. We don't let them out after sunset, said Elder Caleb, an old man with a voice like cracked bark and a gaze that never blinked. They're sensitive. To what? Sam asked. The elder smiled. To the 13th. After dinner, the townsfolk sang. It wasn't English. The words were guttural, ancient, almost wet-sounding. A woman played a harp with strings made from something pale and fibrous. A drumbeat started, slow and steady, like a heartbeat deep in the woods. Mara leaned in toward one of the younger women, a soft-spoken girl named Ruth. What are they singing? Ruth smiled with pride. It's the welcoming hymn, for you. For us, you arrived just in time, she whispered. He's hungry again. Mara's stomach turned. Who's hungry? But Ruth just looked to the trees. That night, Mara couldn't sleep again. The lantern flickered strangely, as though it reacted to movement in the room. When she finally drifted into a shallow sleep, she dreamed of fire, of trees that bled sap like blood, and of a face with antlers and no eyes staring down at her, whispering, "You are the gift." She woke up gasping. Outside in the fog, she saw Lily standing in the clearing, staring into the woods. She ran out, calling her name, but Lily was gone, vanished into the pines. Mara ran barefoot into the fog, the cold soil sucking at her feet like quicksand. The mist swallowed her cries, muffling Lily's name into nothing. She could barely see 10 feet ahead, but she kept going, heart pounding, until the tree line closed in around her like a mouth. Then, a whisper. Not from the direction Lily had gone, not from anywhere in particular. It slithered through the fog into her ear. You're not looking the right way. She froze. A low creaking sound followed, like a door opening in the sky. The trees ahead parted just enough for her to see it. A tall figure standing perfectly still between two pines. It had the shape of a man, but too long. Limbs jointed wrong, like a deer standing upright. A pair of antlers rose from its skull, jagged and uneven. She couldn't see a face, only a dark, writhing void where one should be. Its head tilted. It had no eyes. But it was looking at her. Mara stumbled backward, heartbeat thundering, and slammed into something solid. Tyler! Jesus, Mara! What are you doing out here? Lily, she was out here. I saw. No one's seen Lily, he said, grabbing her shoulders. We've been looking for you. You vanished. What? What? We found your cabin empty 2 hours ago. Everyone's out looking. Even the townspeople. She shook her head. I saw something. In the trees. Sam arrived, breathless. Come back. Elder Caleb wants to speak with us. Says it's urgent. They returned to the town square, where a circle of oil lamps lit the night like tiny watchful eyes. Elder Caleb stood in the center, his hands clasped behind his back, smile tight. I'm told one of you has wandered into the pines. Mara stepped forward. My friend is missing. Lily. She was outside. No child leaves without the pines calling them, he said. She is not lost. She has been taken. Sam stepped forward. Taken? What the hell does that mean? The elder turned slowly to face him. This place, it's sacred. We live as we must. Because we are watched, protected, fed. The 13th watches over us, and the pines are his veil. When a soul is chosen, we do not interfere. Are you saying she's dead? Mara asked, coldly. Elder Caleb's eyes softened, not with pity, but reverence. No, she is becoming. Back in the guest cabin, Sam was pacing. They're crazy. This whole town's a cult. I bet they took Lily themselves. Tyler was staring out the window, fists clenched. We need to leave. Tonight. No waiting? Except every road we tried looped back, Mara said. They're not just hiding something. They're guiding us, hurting us. She paused, then added, I think I saw the Jersey Devil. Sam stopped pacing. What? I saw it. In the woods. It didn't attack. It just stared, like it was waiting for something. Sam muttered, We're being fattened. Tyler nodded. It's a trap. It's always been a trap. That night, none of them slept. And outside, somewhere deep in the fog, something breathed, slow and rhythmic, like a beast slumbering just beneath the soil. And then came the sound again. Scratch. Scratch. Not on a window this time. Under the floorboards. By morning, the fog had lifted slightly, but not the dread. Mara sat in silence, staring at the floorboards where the scratching had come from. When she finally pried one up, she found only packed dirt beneath. No tunnels, no animals. Just a lingering smell of iron, like rusted blood. The town was bustling. Banners made of dried leaves and stitched burlap fluttered in the breeze. Townsfolk hung bundles of herbs, feathers, and bones from doorways. A bell rang through the square, not mechanical, but struck by hand, deep and resonant. Ruth found Mara in the yard, carrying a folded bundle of clothing. It's your turn to dress, she said with a smile. Tonight is the festival of the 13th. You must be part of the celebration. What exactly are we celebrating? Mara asked. Ruth's smile didn't waver. The night he gave us this land. The night he made a pact with our blood. The harvest moon rises, and he must be fed, just like always. At sunset, the square was transformed. A giant effigy stood at its center, a 13-foot figure woven from branches, fur, and antlers, crowned with a carved goat skull. Around it, torches burned low and steady. The townspeople wore ceremonial robes, gray with crimson sashes, and their faces were streaked with ash in swirling patterns. Mara was led to a bench near the front. Tyler and Sam were already seated beside her, equally disturbed, equally silent. Behind them, a rhythmic drumming began low, bone deep. Then, chanting, not in English. The words echoed through the trees like the wind itself was repeating them. Children emerged from the shadows, each carrying a carved animal skull, which they placed at the base of the effigy. Elder Caleb stepped forward, arms wide. "Tonight, we offer thanks to the 13th, born of curse and fire, protector of these woods. Born of Mother Leeds, now reborn through us. We remember the pact." The crowd echoed, in perfect unison. "We remember." Mara's gaze drifted. At the edge of the square was the barn. It had been locked every day since their arrival, thick chains across the doors. But now, it was open. Just slightly, and something moved inside. Slowly, purposefully. She stood, trying not to draw attention, and slipped away from the celebration. Inside the barn, the air was heavy with rot. Animal skulls lined the rafters, but there were human bones, too, arranged in spirals on the dirt floor. Runes were drawn in blood on the wooden walls, still wet. In the far corner, she found a journal. Its cover was cracked leather, the name barely legible. Margaret Denton. She opened it. The first page was neat, dated 1894. A traveler like them, welcome to the town. Page after page detailed life in Leeds Hollow, until the handwriting became erratic, stained, the entries shorter. They smile when they speak of him. The children disappear at night. I saw the pit. I think it's alive. And then the final entry. There's no way out. The trees move when you're not looking. He comes when the blood is warm. I can hear him breathing. He's under the barn. Mara froze. A low, wet snort echoed beneath her feet. The floorboards shifted. Something below was waking up. She fled. Outside, the chanting had grown louder. The townspeople were now swaying, heads thrown back, eyes closed. The effigy was burning, green flames licking unnaturally upward. No one noticed her return. No one noticed anything except the ritual. Then, Tyler screamed. Mara spun to see him being dragged forward by two of the robed figures. Sam lunged, only to be restrained by others. Elder Caleb raised a bone-bladed dagger to the crowd. "The first offering is prepared," Mara screamed. "No!" But no one looked at her. They were all looking at the trees, where a pair of glowing amber eyes stared back, high off the ground, unblinking. Then something stepped forward. Tall as a horse, hunched, with jagged wings folded behind its back. Its limbs ended in black claws. Its head, goat-like, stretched, twisted, seemed too large for its thin neck. Antlers curled outward like roots. Its skin was stretched over bone like parchment over branches, and it smiled. The crowd fell to their knees. Elder Caleb dropped the dagger and whispered, "He walks with us." Tyler's screams echoed through the woods long after the creature vanished. One moment he was there, held by the crowd, struggling against their reverent hands, and the next, the Jersey Devil had simply stepped forward and wrapped its elongated fingers around his throat. It didn't kill him in front of them. It just took him into the woods. Gone. No one followed. No one even moved. They sang. Mara stood frozen, hands clenched, staring at the empty space where Tyler had just been. Sam's face was pale, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth bled. Elder Caleb turned toward them, his eyes wet with tears, not sorrow, but joy. The pact is honored. The god is pleased. He gestured for the villagers to disperse. One by one, they bowed toward the burning effigy and returned to their homes, like nothing had happened. No screams, no grief, no guilt, just faith. That night, Mara didn't go back to the cabin. Instead, she slipped into the shadows and crept through the town to the church at the edge of the clearing. It was old and rotting, its stained glass windows blackened with soot, its doors chained shut from the outside. She pried them open using a rusted pitchfork she found near the stables. Inside was no altar, no pews, no cross. Only a pit, dug deep into the earth, ringed with bones and carved symbols. The smell was overwhelming: meat, decay, sulfur, and pine. And above the pit, Hanging like an offering was Lily's jacket. Blood dash soaked ... but not torn. She hadn't been mauled. She'd been lowered into that hole. Off to the side were shelves stacked with relics, not sacred items, but personal things. Wallets, watches, phones. Dozens of them, from people who had wandered here before. Mara turned on one of the phones, and to her surprise, it lit up. One video was stored ... She played it. The screen shook violently. A man whispered frantically as he ran through the woods. If you're watching this, don't trust them. The Hollow isn't a town. It's a farm. We're the livestock. He doesn't just eat flesh. He devours memory. I saw my friend the next day, smiling like them. She didn't remember me. Didn't remember anything. The longer you stay, the more you forget who you were. The screen went black. Mara staggered back, bile rising in her throat. She clutched the edges of the pit and stared down into the darkness. It stared back. Something moved in the depths, huge and slow. She heard breath, wet, deep, impossibly low. A tongue slid across something rough, something ancient. It wasn't asleep anymore. It was aware. She ran. Outside, the town was quiet. Too quiet. And then a bell rang. 3 slow chimes. Every light in the village flickered to life. Not electric, but flame. Doors creaked open, and the townspeople stepped outside wearing their robes once more. Mara hid behind a cart as Elder Caleb emerged. "The second offering is ready," he said, voice echoing unnaturally across the square. And then they brought out Sam. His arms were bound. His face was calm. Too calm. "Mara," he called. "It's okay. Don't fight it. I understand now. I see what they see." He showed me. "No," she whispered. "No, they got to you." But Sam just smiled. "There's peace in the forgetting." Then he turned toward the forest and walked willingly into the dark, the townspeople humming behind him. Mara wept in silence. She was alone now, and she finally understood. Leeds Hollow wasn't a place. It was a cycle, a machine. Each season, the Pines called someone in, and someone always stayed to forget. Someone always left in pieces, and someone else was reborn in reverence. Now it was her turn to run, to resist, or to be made part of the Hollow. Mara didn't sleep. She didn't go back to the cabins. She stayed hidden in the old smokehouse, curled behind stacked firewood, heart racing with every snap of twig outside. The fog had returned, thicker than ever, curling through the town like fingers stroking every doorway, every window. She could hear the chants again. Not loud, not together, but scattered. Soft, constant, endless. The entire town was whispering. Even the children. By morning, the air stank of ash and rot. The townspeople moved about as if the previous night hadn't happened. They greeted one another with quiet smiles, hands folded, heads bowed. Mara saw Sam walking barefoot along the central path, dressed now like the others, gray robe, crimson sash. His face was blank, his movements too perfect. She followed at a distance, staying hidden. He entered the root cellar behind the main hall. No one else followed. Mara waited, then slipped in after him. The air inside was moist and cold. The stone steps descended deeper than she expected, far beyond what any root cellar should allow. The smell grew worse with each step, like wet iron and old blood. At the bottom, she found it. A chamber carved from the rock itself. Strange symbols scorched into the walls. Hanging from chains were dozens of objects. Jars of preserved organs, eyes floating in amber liquid, leather-bound books with writing that bled. Sam stood before a stone slab, eyes closed. In front of him was a corpse. No, not a corpse. Not entirely. Lily. Her eyes were open. She was still breathing. Barely. Her limbs were bound by vines. her mouth sewn shut with black thread, symbols carved into her skin in neat, deliberate patterns. Every inch of her had been offered, but not yet taken. Mara gasped. Sam turned. "Mara," he said gently, almost kindly, "you shouldn't be here. What did they do to her?" "She's the vessel," Sam said, approaching her slowly. "She was chosen to carry him into the world. Not every offering is eaten. Some are kept, grown, prepared." Mara backed away, hand shaking. "This isn't you talking." "I know," he smiled. "That's the best part." He reached out, and Mara slammed the lantern into his face. He screamed, clawing at the flames as she grabbed Lily and dragged her up the stairs, blood trailing behind them. She didn't make it far. They were waiting. Dozens of townspeople, all smiling, all silent. Elder Caleb stepped forward. "You've seen what lies beneath." "I'm taking her," Mara said, breath ragged. "I'm leaving. I don't care if I have to tear your god apart with my hands." Elder Caleb's smile faded. "There is no leaving. There is only joining." He raised his hand. From the trees came the sound of wings unfolding. A gust of wind, hot and fetid, swept through the clearing. The townspeople dropped to their knees, murmuring prayers. And from the sky he descended, the Jersey Devil. Its antlers scraped the treetops. Its eyes were endless pits, swirling with ash and fire. Its mouth opened, revealing not teeth, but faces, hundreds of them, screaming silently within its throat. It landed behind Mara, casting a shadow that covered the town. Lily stirred. Mara whispered to her, "Hold on. I'm going to get you out of here. I swear." But Lily only whispered back, her mouth somehow moving despite the thread, "He's already inside me." Mara screamed as the devil opened its mouth wider, and the roots beneath their feet cracked, revealing a vast hollow beneath the town, a pit of bones, faces, and breathing stone. The town began to chant louder. Their voices merged into a single echoing growl. Blood for the Pines, flesh for the 13th, memory for the Hollow. Mara clutched Lily, staring into the pit. And then the ground gave way. The earth swallowed them whole. Mara plunged into a darkness so absolute it crushed her breath. She clung to Lily's limp body as they fell, branches and bones scraping her sides until they landed hard on a pulsing, spongy floor deep beneath the town. Everything down here was alive. The walls weren't stone. They were flesh, damp and veined, breathing slow and deep. Glowing fungi clung to the ribs of the chamber, casting the cavern in a sickly green light. The air was hot, wet, and smelled of old copper and rotting leaves. Mara rose, dizzy, and dragged Lily behind a thick root pulsing with ichor. Above them, the townspeople circled the pit, singing now in perfect unison. Their voices echoed like thunder down the walls. "Harvest night is here again. He drinks. He breaks. He builds again." Then something began to rise from the depths. It wasn't the devil. It was the altar. Carved from bones fused with petrified roots, it emerged slowly from the flesh floor, slick with black sap. Runes glowed along its surface, pulsing in time with a heartbeat beneath the cavern. Mara stood. She was done hiding. Elder Caleb descended alone, his hands raised in reverence. "You bring her before us, as promised," he said. "Even in defiance, you served the will." "I didn't bring her for him," Mara growled. "I'm taking her out of here." Caleb's smile widened. "There is no out. There is only through." He reached for Lily, but Mara was faster. She stabbed him through the chest with a jagged femur pulled from the altar. His smile faltered. He collapsed, choking on his own blood. The chanting above stopped. The ground shook. Something stirred deeper in the pit. Then a sound like splitting trees and screaming iron filled the chamber, and he arrived. The Jersey Devil crawled from the ceiling like a spider, clinging upside down, wings stretched like an ancient banner. Its head twisted unnaturally to stare directly at Mara. Its voice did not echo in her ears. It invaded her mind. You were meant to forget. You were meant to fold. You remember too much. You must feed me something else. The devil dropped to the ground with a sickening crunch. Its breath reeked of scorched marrow. It stepped toward her slowly, claws clicking across bone. Mara raised the bone weapon. I won't be your offering. The devil tilted its head. Then choose another. Lily stirred again, her eyes wide now, but not with fear, with peace. Mara, she whispered, let me. I can feel him. He's beautiful. He's light and warmth. It doesn't hurt anymore. No, they've twisted you. That's not him. That's infection. Lily smiled. I can keep him busy. Mara realized what she meant. No, she whispered. Don't. But Lily sat up on the altar, eyes glowing faintly green. The roots wrapped gently around her wrists like welcoming hands. You have to run, Lily said, while you still remember who you are. The devil howled, not in rage, but in hunger. He rose tall, wings unfurled, antlers scraping the cavern ceiling, and leaned toward Lily. His mouth opened, not to devour, but to merge. Vine, smoke, and blood poured from his throat into hers, and she took it all with open arms. Mara ran. She didn't look back. The path out opened like a lung exhaling. She crawled through filth and darkness, through tunnels that moved around her, through the forest floor until she emerged in the center of town. The effigy was gone. The townspeople stood in silence, their eyes dull, empty. Sam stood at the edge of the square, watching her. Mara, he said. The Hollow accepted her. She didn't stop running. The forest didn't fight her this time. It let her run. Trees blurred past, the path before her unnaturally clear, as if carved specifically for her escape. No brambles clawed at her. No fog swallowed her. No shadows reached. For the first time since entering Leeds Hollow, Mara could hear her own breath, sharp and ragged, her own heartbeat. And then, silence. A road. Cracked pavement. Faded yellow lines. Civilization. She fell to her knees, sobbing, hands against the rough asphalt like it was sacred ground. A light appeared in the distance. Headlights. A truck slowed. The driver, an older man with a cigarette tucked behind one ear, jumped out. Jesus, you okay? Mara could barely speak. Please, help me. A town, in the woods. Leeds Hollow. They. My friends. They. The man helped her into the cab, offering water, warmth, the hum of an engine. Safety. Or so she thought. They reached a sheriff's station an hour later. She told them everything. The town, the effigy, the devil, the ritual, the pit. The sheriff, a woman with steel-gray hair and tired eyes, listened in silence. When Mara finished shaking, the sheriff nodded slowly. We'll get a team out there. Don't you worry. Mara sighed in relief. But something was wrong. She noticed a symbol carved into the wooden wall behind the sheriff's desk. 13 trees encircling a skull. Mara froze. Where are we? The sheriff looked at her kindly. You're safe. Just past Hollow's End. Mara backed toward the door. No. That's not real. That's not on any map. You've been marked, the sheriff said. There's no running from that. Leeds Hollow isn't just a place. It's a threshold. Once it knows you, it never stops calling. Outside, the fog had returned. So had the chanting. They kept her sedated for 3 days. When she awoke, she was no longer in a holding room. She was in a bed, in a small cabin, wrapped in wool sheets. Candles burned in every corner. A bowl of stew steamed on the table. Ruth sat beside her. You're lucky, she said softly. He accepted Lily. That gave you time to remember yourself. No, Mara whispered. I escaped. Ruth tilted her head. Did you? She opened the curtains. Outside, the town square. The same carved totems. The same crooked buildings. Leeds Hollow, but different. Fresher. rebuilt, reset. The cycle had started again. That night, the townspeople gathered again beneath the harvest moon. The bonfire roared. Mara, dressed like the others now, stood among them, silent, emotionless, hands folded. The Jersey Devil perched in the trees above, its wings casting shadows over the crowd. It didn't descend. It didn't need to. It had already taken, not her body, her memory. And then the bell rang. New visitors stood at the edge of the square, hikers, dazed and tired, staring at the old-world village before them. A woman stepped forward from the crowd to greet them, smiling, welcoming. "Mara, you're just in time," she said. The air was sweet with pine and smoke. The newcomers, 2 couples and a solo hiker, looked around Leeds Hollow with a mix of awe and caution. One of them, a man in his 30s, asked, "Is this like a historical village or something?" Mara smiled. She didn't remember why the question made her skin itch. She didn't remember her name used to mean something else. But she remembered her purpose. "No," she said. "We live by the old ways. No electricity. No roads, just faith." Another traveler chuckled. "Faith in what?" She smiled again, gentler this time. "In the pines, in the 13th. That night, the newcomers were treated to stew, warm bread, and herbal tea. The children played near the barn. The elders whispered blessings. The fog rolled in, thicker than before, and the drumming began. It was always the same. Harvest night was coming. But this time, Mara was not the sacrifice. She was one of them now. In the darkness beneath the barn, the pit pulsed, fed, warm, full. Lily's body floated in the air, suspended in roots like veins. Her face had changed. Her skin had hardened. Her eyes glowed faintly, always open, always watching. And beneath her, deep in the flesh and stone, the devil slept, or pretended to. He had what he needed. For now, high in the trees above town, he perched, horns splitting the sky, wings curled like a shroud. He didn't roar. He didn't scream. He simply watched, as Mara and the townsfolk smiled, preparing the new guests for the coming celebration. As they sang the old songs, as the hollow took its breath again, and far beyond the pines, past the maps, past the laws, past the knowledge of men, a fog rolled silently down another back road, looking for the next wrong turn, the next broken compass, the next soul to wander in. Because the hollow always needs a host, and the devil always needs to be fed.